So we're here and we're in person. And I wish we were in person every day because there's so much to talk about.
So much.
All right, just let's dig in.
I flew from Columbus to LA today for work and spent basically the entire flight on the files.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the biggest things that happened today was yesterday, many Congress people went over to DOJ, to the physical headquarters, and they were granted access to 4 computers where they could look at unredacted copies of a dump of 3 million documents.
And by the way, they got like some ridiculous, like 50-page explanation of how to use the computers, and then everything was redacted anyway. Like all of the villains' names were redacted pretty much. So it was very hard to go through.
One tidbit of information that came out of it that I think is really interesting is that the FBI redacted the documents and then gave the DOJ the redacted documents. So it's like FBI agents who aren't attorneys, mostly, I don't think. Like we're making these decisions. So that doesn't make any sense, but explains the wild state of the redactions, I guess. But another big thing is that Khanna and Thomas Massey, who are the 2 congressmen really pushing for the Epstein Transparency Act.
And by the way, they're both one Republican, one Democrat.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Because this transcends political parties. It's
a bipartisan problem.
Yeah, it's an American problem.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
Sexual abuse and exposing it is urgent, whether it's your party or not.
But they have really come out and said, look, there was a list of co-conspirators. And one thing that's important to note, if the DOJ lists you as a co-conspirator in a prosecution memo, they have done an investigation. They have taken it to the grand jury. So where is the grand jury investigation of the listed co-conspirators? And then third, to me, the biggest takeaway is that Les Wexner, the Ohio billionaire, founder of the L Brands, who we've talked about, he is really being pointed to as a major co-conspirator. We have known of his involvement.
By the way, let's just talk about what that means. What is a co-conspirator?
A co-conspirator means that they identify you as a co-conspirator in a prosecution memo. It believes it means they think you have committed a crime.
Right. So it wouldn't necessarily be like they were helping Jeffrey Epstein. It's that they were also complicit in these crimes. Now, we also know President Clinton is in there, former President Clinton. President Trump is in there over, I guess, thousands of times. There's so much sort of damning evidence in here. And I was at a dinner last night with some women who were like, why would you say Donald Trump is guilty? And I was like, you know what? This is the thing. I think Bill Clinton's guilty. I think Donald Trump is guilty. I think everyone who visited the island is guilty. Now, some of these people were talking about it visit the island more than double-digit times. So the idea that you would be on that island and see young girls being paraded around inappropriately, you are guilty if you don't say anything. And so I think when you all are faced with people who are questioning you or making you feel crazy, just say, here's the website, here's the DOJ website, and you look for yourself. The evidence speaks for itself. We don't have to contemplate whether someone thinks it's guilty.
And there are hundreds of hours of video that were part of this document dump too that I think are very hard to find in the files, but the Free Press actually went ahead and
12 hours, right?
Compiled all of the videos. So you can go and watch it there. And that I didn't watch all of it, obviously. I just watched small clips of it. But even watching the short clips that I saw, it completely backs to your point that you just said. There was no way you could be on that island and not realize what was happening.
Right.
And the other thing is I read something about how the pilots were saying there were young girls as young as 8, 9, 10, 11. How could you as a pilot not immediately go to the authorities? You know.
There is, so there's a guy, I wrote his name down. I think his name is Adam Perry Lang is his name. He's a chef. I looked that a lot of people I know follow him. He was Epstein's chef for 4 straight years, his private chef. This guy knows where the bodies are buried. And he now has a pop-up in Venice, California. I was almost going to suggest that you and I go there tonight to confront him, but it's all meat, so I can't eat there. But anyway, seriously, I'm so beyond sick about this guy. How is he just roaming the world as someone people respect? He has 800,000 followers on Instagram. This guy is completely complicit. He was Epstein's private chef for 4 years, period.
Well, the reason he is able to completely walk around is because we have decided in America thus far, we're just going to let this go. I mean, Trump told us all to move on, right? Kash Patel testified that there was nothing that they could prosecute, which is fascinating to me given now that the DOJ identified co-conspirators after a grand jury investigation. But we talk about this all the time. There's all these people walking around and there's also all these people with all this information. Like today in the files, I found where prosecutors from the Southern District of New York leaked information to then Wall Street Journal reporter Rebecca O'Brien, including financial records from Deutsche Bank and other banks. So this reporter has all these financial records showing the flow of funds, which we've never seen, right? We're always like, where's the money? And this isn't like, where's Santa Claus? The trail of money is in the bank records that people have, including this reporter, Rebecca O'Brien. Why can't we have it? Why is everyone not sharing everything?
Bank records, they have video, they have photos, they have emails. They have everything they need, unless there is a dark, huge web of corruption behind this that's stopping people from getting justice.
And that has to be the answer, right? That is the simple answer. And I think it goes to this idea of the entire system at this point is built to protect the elites from everything. And I think they know it.
Well, I also think there's another layer of it. I think people don't want to see their heroes taken down.
Well,
so if you are someone who loves the president or loved the former president, you don't want to see your heroes go down because it destabilizes you.
It really does. And I think like one thing that's so challenging for me is when I see Trump supporters just post about Bill Clinton or just post about, and I see Bill Clinton supporters or Obama supporters just post about Donald Trump. And it's like, you have weakened the ability to make a powerful argument. The powerful argument is all these men should be accountable. Well, and some of the women.
This is also the thing when you have people who are speaking out for women's rights, right? And we've seen this over and over again. You cannot be a selective feminist. You cannot be selective about equality. If you believe in equality, you believe in equality for everyone. If you believe in justice, you believe in justice for everyone, even when it doesn't fit your personal agenda or your political agenda.
100%. And this should not be partisan. And there's also I know so many women who have hosted events, so many powerful feminist women who have hosted events with men in the Epstein Files. And they haven't spoken up and said anything. And it kind of it really...
So I will share a personal story with someone in the Epstein Files who was in the media a lot today. And that is Howard Lutnick. So one year, Mitch, my husband, won Entrepreneur of the Year. And he was at a table with Howard Lutnick at the Palm Springs, annual gala. Howard Lutnick had been nominated, and I think he won. And afterwards, we were all going back to New York City, and he invited us on his private plane to hop a ride back to New York City. By the way, this is a total sidebar. If you're a parent, this was our worst mistake ever because we were supposed to sleep over that night in the hotel and go back in the morning.
Oh my gosh, that would have been so great.
We pulled the all-nighter to go on his plane where there was no beds, and then the next morning woke up and had to parent. It was a total disaster, on no sleep. So that was a bad parenting move. However, my mom guilt got in the way, and I just made a mistake, and I will never do that one again. In the meantime, the other mistake I made was Howard Lutnick. So we get on the plane, and I'm being super friendly, as you know I am, Amy. And
she's really friendly.
I'm really friendly, sometimes apparently too friendly. So Howard Lutnick turns to me in the middle of our conversation, and I'll never forget, I still blush when I think about it, and he goes, "Shouldn't you be back there with your husband?" Yeah. As though I was flirting.
Wait, what?
Yes. It was just the three of us on the plane.
Oh my God.
Disgusted.
Oh, he just talked down to you, put you in your little box.
100%. It was mortifying.
Oh my God.
I was ill. Okay. Now today, Howard Lutnick, as we know, said that he wanted nothing to do with Epstein, that after the first time he was...
No, he testified. Howard Lutnick testified.
Yeah.
Howard Lutnick, who's in the Trump administration, testified a year ago at some point that when Epstein moved into his building, because they lived in the same building, different apartments, he and his wife...
He sold his apartment to Epstein.
Okay. He and his wife went over to visit Epstein once, and he knew within 1 minute that this man was evil and he never was going to see him again. He wanted nothing to do with him. He shared this very elaborate, specific story. Well, it's total bullshit. Well, he went to the island after that. He had lunch with them and they had some business dealings. Now, I'm going to say about the business dealings, all I saw were they both signed an LLC sheet. That could have been for an investment that there were 100 investors in something. We don't know. We don't know.
We do know
he went to the island.
He went to the island with his family, his kids, his wife, another couple, he said. And he had to backtrack on everything he said today in front of Congress because they were grilling him about it. And they said, but you said you never had any contact with him after that first time.
And not only did he say he never had any contact, he made up this elaborate story about how they decided he was evil and they knew they were never going to take 15 steps again to his house. I mean, it was so much.
It was bad. It was just, I mean, watching it was, even though he embarrassed me, I was embarrassed for him watching this because he was just caught in a lie, and it just kept getting worse. And then it was just bad.
And the thing is, like, one of the reasons that this bothers me, because we talk about how the rule only exists to the extent to which we're willing to enforce it. We are not going to hold Howard Lutnick responsible for lying under oath to Congress. We're not going to, right? And so that just opens the door for everybody else to do it.
Well, speaking of lying, today on Piers Morgan, I'm going to shift our attention to Brett Ratner. So Brett Ratner, if you've ever been in Hollywood, was a very well-known Hollywood director.
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to put out an open invitation to Rebecca Gayheart to join us because she is his ex, and I think she probably knows where the Brett Ratner bodies are buried. But Brett Ratner was beloved by Hollywood, and then he was accused of rape by 4 women, and he's all over the Epstein Files. And I did not realize this until a few days ago, that he was then tapped in an effort to resurrect his career.
Yeah.
He was tapped to be the director of the Melania movie.
Oh, yes.
Director. And now he's working his way back into Hollywood through this critically acclaimed Melania documentary that everyone's like kissing ass to say how great it was.
And that was funded by Amazon for tens of millions of dollars.
So hold on. So today, or last night, Brett Ratner was on Piers Morgan saying that there's a photo in the files of Ratner holding a very skinny girl. It looks like a girl. Okay. It looks like any human being who's seen a girl, who was a kid, would think this is a child. He, on Piers Morgan with a straight face next to, I guess it was his attorney, said, that was my ex-fiance. That was in the photo. Okay. Well, I guess he had a really miniature, childlike ex-fiance. So Piers Morgan said, what was the ex-fiance's name? He said, I don't want to say.
Oh, I don't want to say.
What? If you were engaged to someone, theoretically, that's kind of public knowledge, and you won't even use their name to justify this photo and make sure that the world knows that you're innocent, because clearly it's BS. And it was
but like Piers Morgan probably let him get away with it, right?
Like, because Piers Morgan's an ass.
Moving right along.
Yeah. Sorry, he says a lot of bad things, but anyway, the point is, it was really bad journalism. I mean, I think part of this is journalism, right? And I will say, back to the Free Press, Barry Weiss's wife,
then girlfriend
got a lot of crap because she had gone to Epstein's house, and I guess in one of the emails I saw, they were so friendly that he said to her, it wasn't like a normal professional relationship. He said to her, how'd it go meeting the in-laws?
So I want to backtrack on this, because Barry Weiss or her wife, I can't remember, responded to this. Oh no, it was Barry Weiss' wife, who is a journalist. Yes. I'm sorry, I forget her name. Responded to this, and she said, yes. She's like, I met with Epstein once for coffee. Yeah. And we bantered. And as you've met with reporters, I've met with reporters, you tell them things about your life.
And they try to get you to be friendly to them so that you can then get stories from them, right? Like if you're actually interviewing someone, you want them to trust you. And
she said, Barry Weiss's wife said that she felt uncomfortable in the house. She didn't seem like a normal, and because she acknowledged, like, I don't know if you know, there's like a, like hanging off a chandelier, there is like a mannequin in a wedding dress with her noose around her neck. Like that's not a normal piece of art that one would see.
I mean, who knows if she said that, but apparently there were naked pictures everywhere and art of women naked everywhere.
Yeah. And so, she acknowledged she thought this was a creepy place and she didn't feel comfortable and she left. And so, like I get it. Yeah. Right. But I'm glad that Barry Weiss and the Free Press, they spent a lot of their resources to call through these videos and put them together so everybody can watch them. I don't know that I can watch all of them because
I couldn't. It's very upsetting. There's also a lot of references to torture in there and abuse and just sort of laughing at abuse. I also want to note something that's really disturbed me, both on the internet and among friends of mine who have been victims in their past, that going through the files is very triggering for someone who has not been a victim. If you've been a victim, like I have noticed a pattern among my friends who've touched the files after having gone through their own stuff in their own lives. It's triggering. Like the people who have been victims in the past and see this stuff are re-triggered. So I highly recommend, if you've been a victim, I mean, unless you are, nerves of steel, it's just not worth maybe going through it.
It's a lot. I mean, there are things like, and I completely hear you. And like, here's an example. Like I went through the files and there are some drafts, many drafts of emails that Wexner wrote to himself. And I think they're particularly instructive because often in our drafts, we write things that, are personal or we don't send. And like, this one's really strange. She was like, Wexner, mother suicide, Sharon, New Albany, bankrupt, never did anything without informing. I would never put less in harm's way.
Well, then who? I don't get it.
Jeffrey Epstein is writing this note to himself. I would never put less in harm's way. Like, never did anything without informing less. Like,
what do you make of this?
Ghislaine, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's just scary. So it's like blackmailer. I don't know what it is.
Okay. So one thing I saw, which I thought was interesting. So there's two people that in Hollywood where I live that seem to be going down. Okay. Two of them. Casey Wasserman, famous music manager and the head of the Olympics coming up in LA.
LA 28.
LA 28.
Artists are revolting against him. And Chappelle Roan of My Pink Pony.
Chappelle Roan, who wore that really creepy dress.
Whatever. She stood up and she said, if he's still there, I'm out.
Okay, she did. She's one of the few clients that spoke up so far.
I said My Pink Pony. It's Pink Pony Dance. The song.
I don't know either one. Anyway, all I know is that dress she wore and I can't bear it. But the point is that he's going down. He's going down, Casey Wasserman. Like I think
he just canceled a talk. He just canceled a talk.
As he should. He's all over the Epstein Files. He should not be running the Olympics. Like the Olympics, which is supposed to represent our country.
Which has so many women.
It can't happen.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, Casey, drop out. Please, just drop out. This is Sam and Amy both asking you to drop out. The second person, Barry Josephson, famous film producer. My first job was as an assistant in Hollywood. Everyone knew Barry Josephson's name. His wife just left him. He was all over the Epstein Files. She just filed for divorce. I think they were already separated and she just filed for divorce after seeing him in the Epstein Files. But I think these are just the first of many.
I mean, Sam, I hope, because over in Europe we see, politician after leader is just stepping down. The King of England said he fully supports a criminal investigation into his brother, the former prince, which obviously the royals covered this up for years. It really tarnishes the Queen's legacy, I think, in a lot of ways.
At this point, it's like so many legacies are tarnished. And the best thing you can do if you're out there listening to this and you were a perpetrator, please.
This is what I wanted to ask you. Should people identify, like, what should Kathy Rumler do?
Kathy Rumler, I'm sorry, that woman. I am not sympathetic to her.
It's just,
She's the head legal counsel for Goldman Sachs, and she should be named as a co-conspirator.
David Solomon, you should have her. She
needs to resign yesterday.
Or be fired.
Oh, obviously fired. But in banking,
and I wish Obama would say something because she was his top lawyer.
Right? Just this woman, I'm sorry to say this woman, but I have to because I have to distance us from her because she's not our kind of woman. She was... I'm not in bed physically, but in bed emotionally in every possible way with Jeffrey Epstein. She knew all about this. She is complicit in everything. And she's the chief counsel for Goldman Sachs today. Like these are brands. Like think about how much Goldman Sachs spends on branding. Think about how much the Olympics spends on branding. They cannot afford to tarnish brands. If you're not doing it for the moral reasons, do it for the value of your brand.
Yeah. Doesn't Goldman Sachs do the 10,000 women business, 10,000 small business women owners? No, but I'm saying it's like
these people have no brand consistency. If you're not firing the chief counsel who is participating in Epstein's grotesque child pornography ring, then something's wrong. All right, we got it. I'm always calling time. See you tomorrow.